Hey, back with another video, and in this video we're talking all about how to settle in a new location as quickly as possible if you're an expat or a digital nomad that's working and traveling at the same time. So I figured out, this is the second time now that I've moved countries, and in the meantime I've traveled to different locations for longer periods of time. So I figured out that there are certain things that help me to maintain a certain sense of control, routine, and just being comfortable in general, and that there were other things that were very, very, very distracting. So today I've put together a few areas of my life, I guess, that have been key for me to maintain. So for example, I arrived in Albania in January, then I stayed in multiple different Airbnbs over a period of time, then went to Montenegro for a month, came back, got a permanent flat, had to move from that permanent flat, had to go back to Germany for 3 months, then came back here into my old flat, then there was the earthquake, and then, oh yeah, I can tell you about that in a more personal video actually. Oh my God, an earthquake, but a real serious one. I'll tell you about that in another video actually. I'll record that after. And then I had to move again. So I've maybe in the last 12 months stayed in, 10 different Airbnbs, 3 different countries, and 2 permanent flats. And that's just the last 12 months. So that's enough to drive anyone round the bend, literally. So there's a few key things that I found that make life a lot easier. Number one, if you're about to go abroad and you're still at home, figure out the paperwork banking situation. As an example, if you're a German citizen with a bog standard German bank account and a German Geldkarte or a debit card, you cannot assume that your Maestro debit card will work in other countries. So get yourself a credit card, otherwise you're going to be stuck in places like this with absolutely no money whatsoever. Research bank accounts, particularly around foreign exchange fees, withdrawal fees from foreign cash machines, etc., so that you know exactly what you're going to be paying. Otherwise, you will find that you will get absolutely raped in fees. Like, they'll take, the last hair off of your head. So get all of that stuff and bring the things with you that you're going to need. I just have one of those small white, folders with like a popper button on it. And I just keep all of the important paperwork that I might need in there, and then I don't have to worry about it. So that's my top tip, bring everything that you're going to need, and then you don't have to stress. The second thing that's been super, super important for me is housing. Because I spend a large amount of my day working from wherever I'm staying, I cannot be in a small box with no daylight, no view, having to work from the bed for the whole day. That doesn't work for me. It doesn't make me creative. It doesn't make me want to do anything. It doesn't make me want to get up in the morning. So I figured over time that I have certain criteria that places just have to meet for me to be comfortable to stay there. And sometimes it's very hard to judge those things off of the internet when you book before you get to places. So what I figured out that works for me over time is that if I go to a different location, I usually book through Airbnb. I have to say it's my favorite place to book apartments through, and I've not actually had an issue with it yet. So Airbnb for the go if I can. I normally book a place for around 3 days to check out the basics. So they'll say on the ad that we have super fast internet, and then the internet takes so long that I've edited a client's video and it's going to take 9 hours to go and upload it because the upload speed's terrible. Then I have to go around and try and find a cafe that has better internet to go and upload my work, and that kind of stuff is annoying. So I go, I check out the internet, and I check out the water pressure. I've been in a place where literally you put shampoo on your head and the water pressure is so bad that you stand in the shower for 40 minutes to try and get the bubbles out of your hair. I have curly hair. Sometimes it looks crazy like today. What can I do? So sometimes the mattress, I've stayed in places where the mattress is literally so uncomfortable that you wake up with back and neck pain every single day. And then I can't concentrate on work. I'm just like, oh, like everything is hurting. I'm not comfortable. Daylights, I've already said, it's really important to me. I need to have a clear view out of my window and ideally a balcony so that I can go outside and get fresh air, get some sunlight and come back in and keep working. So there's just a few things that are important, and some of those you just can't judge off of the ad. You know, maybe the mattress was decent when they bought it 6 months ago and nobody had slept on it, and after 6 months of different people sleeping on it, the mattress now is, you know, like a banana from all four sides. So it just sometimes doesn't work. So I book a place for 3 days. If after 3 days I'm happy with it, I then tend to book the whole period of the stay, whether it's 1 month, 2 months, you know, however long you can. If I'm staying permanently, obviously I'm going to pay attention to certain things in a permanent flat, and I might do a separate video on that. I've been to a bajillion places now and lived in quite a few, so I guess I have certain things that are important. Once housing is sorted though, the next thing for me to maintain is my routine. So I figured that as soon as I let the routine slide, the routine will slide for 1 day, okay, fixable. It slides for a second or a third day, and then you're in this downward spiral. So I know that when you go to a new place, you're very excited to see everything and it's like new and fascinating. But the really important thing for you is to set yourself boundaries. I was watching this TED talk the other day, and the guy was talking about the inner monkey that lives in our head that just wants the instant gratification. That's cool, but that's going to have consequences for you, and they're probably not going to be consequences that you want, which is your clients leaving. So don't do that. For me, sticking to the routine means getting up at a set time, starting work round about a certain time, and then working until the work is done or until a certain time period is hit. In the first few days, or if you're in a really hot place and you're not used to it being that hot, I found I had to adjust my routine a little bit. So I got up earlier, for example, when I came here, because in summer we're looking at 38 to 42 degrees here. So I found it better because sunrise is super early and sunset is also super early in comparison to Germany. I think the sun sets here in summer almost 2 hours before it would have set in Germany. So I get tired once it hits sunset. So I get up earlier. You know, I'm often up at 5 in the summer, and I never used to get up before 6. I used to be so tired. So here, get up at 5, make use of those bright early morning hours and the sunrise, and take that energy. And then if you get tired after lunch because it's hot, I mean, you do have aircon, but it still affects you, and I can't have the aircon on the whole day. So if after lunch you have a bit of a low point, go for a nap. You know, you often can't go out in the summer until like after 7 or 8 anyways, because it is so hot. You're waiting, you know, when you get that feeling, oh, it's cooled down a little bit, it's often still 34, 35 degrees, but it's not 42. So you can suddenly go for a walk, go to the park. So I find that I enjoy the early morning hours and the very late evenings, and the afternoons are often a total waste. So adjust your routine if need be, but then stick to it. Just so that you have some kind of framework to work in. Pointer number 4 that's helped me a lot is bring less stuff. If you're going to be moving from Airbnb to Airbnb or from country to country, you do not want 2 suitcases and 3 backpacks. Like if you're in places like this, here nobody cares about accessibility and safety of pedestrians or cars or anything. So you're walking down the pavement and there's just a whole manhole cover that's like fallen into the road and you nearly stepped in it. I've fallen over and tripped over stuff on the pavement so many times here. It's so funny. Like I'm just like, yep, fell over some loose paving stone yet again. You have 2 suitcases, backpacks, public transport is totally hit and miss. So just bear in mind that you have to lug all of that stuff around. You have to keep tidying it up, unpacking it, packing it, unpacking it, packing it. and it just becomes this nuisance. So get rid of it, or don't bring it in the first place. You know, just leave it with your parents, a friend, in a storage facility, wherever. The less stuff you have, the less burden you have, and the more lighter you feel. Then the fifth thing that I have to do whenever I've moved is to figure out the basics. Like, I need to know what's the nearest supermarket, where's the nearest pharmacy, where's the nearest bakery, what are their opening hours. Like, there's very few places here that are open 24 hours. So particularly in the summer, if you suddenly get thirsty at like 10 p.m. and you realize you've run out of drinks, a lot of the local shops will be closed. And then like know where the 24-hour place is if you need something. And then also in the first few days, I like to test out some places to work that are near me. So I don't always like to work from home. I sometimes like to go out. And I found that in this place, sometimes they don't have plug sockets that work, or they don't understand English and you don't know the word for plug socket, so you can't ask properly and you can't see any. Sometimes they say they have internet, but it just won't connect, and they don't really care about restarting it or not restarting it. That is irrelevant. You've given them money to buy your drink and that's all they care about. So test some different places to work, see which ones are good. Once you've found 2 or 3, just stick with those unless you have spare time. Otherwise, you can easily waste a whole afternoon going from calf to calf to calf to calf, having bought your drink just to then realize that the internet doesn't work. So that's something, those are like basic things that I need to have around me. And once I know, right, and I need to get 3 things from the shop, it's just down there, it takes me 10 minutes, pop down to the shop, no problem. So that's important for me. And then point 6 was enriching your life. So if you're staying somebody for a longer time, like somewhere for a longer time period, there are certain things that everyone needs and they vary. For me, I need human connection. So expat groups on Facebook have been freaking amazing because you can connect with people where you don't have the language barrier and you don't have the cultural differences. So that's your first starting point. Then maybe they have some friends that they can introduce you to that are local, but they've maybe lived abroad. So you can learn a little bit more about the local culture and how it works. For example, if you're a single woman down here and you want to be dating, the dating game is completely different here. And as a foreigner, if you behave in certain ways, you are sending 100% the wrong message. So it's very, very funny. There's just small cultural differences that have a big impact on how people do different things, I guess. The other app that I've used is couch surfing. So there's always people arranging meetups via the couch surfing app, and you can just join and organize a group thing. So that's been pretty fun. I've met lots of people traveling from lots of different countries, and I found that very interesting. I hope it's not getting too dark, by the way. I think the sun is setting. Then I like to meet local people. I've had the best chance actually through couch surfing. There's lots of local people that want some more international contacts that like to just chat to people on couch surfing. So I've had a good chance there. And for others of you, it might be finding a gym, finding group exercise classes or anything like that, or even language classes. I found language classes have been a fun way to get to meet new people, and you are learning to kind of fend for yourself as far as going into shops goes. So here the issue is particularly in butchers, bakeries, the cheese places. There's often older people working in there, and while younger people speak broken English, a lot of older people don't speak any English whatsoever. And then, you know, you're in the butchers and you're like, I want, you know, like chicken breast, you know, because you're just trying to explain them what the heck you want to buy, and it's super freaking difficult. So yeah, language classes often go a long way. You know, you want to order a food to get delivered to your house, great. You can kind of scramble through the menu, but then the delivery driver calls you and he needs directions. And then if you can't understand people, that's it for your food. You want to call a taxi, great, same situation. So picking up some basics of the language have been super, super important for me. In some places it's easier, and other places like here it is way more difficult because it's so different. But it is not impossible. YouTube to the rescue. There isn't a single thing, I don't think, that you can't learn on YouTube. So look for some lessons if need be, if you can't afford or don't have the time/travel issue to get to group classes in person. Yeah, so those are the 6 things that I found super important for myself. I don't think I've forgotten anything. So if you've been traveling as a digital nomad, or if you've been an expat somewhere, or you are looking at moving to a different place, Share the tips that you found when you were moving around. You know, maybe there's something that I've really not considered that is actually important, but I just hadn't noticed the difference that it makes. So do drop a comment if you've been traveling or you've been an expat and you want to share some of your tips. Let us know. And if you're interested in doing this whole digital nomad thing and you have questions, feel free to leave a comment and ask. And as I always do, I either reply to them one by one or do a whole separate video if there's a few different questions. And I'll see you for the next one. And I'll record one now to tell you about this earthquake, just a personal thing. Probably no value in it, but God, was that creepy. So I'll see you for that.